All you action figure enthusiasts out there, JC here with another T&I toy review. And today's review is in association with MarvelousNews.com, your #1 news source for everything Marvel. And for today's review, I'm going to be taking a look at the brand new Marvel Legends 6-inch Spider-Man Far From Home Mysterio figure from Hasbro. Now this figure comes packaged in a similar style that we see with all the Marvel Legend figures. You've got the Legend Series logo up at the top, you've got the figure clearly displayed, and then you have the Spider-Man Far From Home movie logo, since this is a movie-based figure, and the name of the character below that. On the sides of the packaging, you've just got artwork for Mysterio, and then on the back of the packaging, you've got more artwork for the character and a brief bio in multiple languages. And then down below that, you've got images of all the figures in the wave that you need to get in order to complete the Molten Man Build-A-Figure. All right, let's get this open and take a look at what's inside. Okay, so here's a look at the figure outside the packaging along with the other contents. Now, as far as accessories go, you only get a couple things with this one. You get the leg for the Molten Man Build-A-Figure, which I will be reviewing in its own review once I've looked at all the figures in the wave. And then the only other thing you get with this one is an extra pair of hands. So you've got the open hands that are attached to the figure, and then you get an extra pair of closed-fisted hands. Now for the figure itself, starting with the head or the bowl or helmet, whatever you want to call it, there's nothing actually inside there. It is basically just a solid piece, and I'll pop the head off and show you in a minute. And it looks like, you know, maybe some semi-translucent plastic, frosted plastic that's made to look like, you know, there's fog or smoke inside there. And then there's looks like kind of like a glitter type pattern that's painted on the helmet. And so that picks up the light some, but there's no actual head sculpt inside there for you to see. And you know, you can see it, the light here kind of shines off of it. So any kind of light that you do, you know, you're going to get that kind of reflection. So it almost makes you look like there's something in there, but again, there's really not. And then like I said, you can just pop the head off and you can see there is actually nothing in there. You do have the gold rim there for the collar. The cape, if you take the head off, is removable, and it's made with just that kind of vinyl material. Now on the underside, you've got some line work sculpted, and then you've got this diamond pattern that's on the sides, and you've got some metallic green paint there. And then on the back side, you again have that metallic green paint, and they've painted on some kind of weird pattern. I don't know if there's any meaning to that pattern. Almost looks like some eyes here, but again, I don't know if that's just a random pattern for coolness or if there's an actual purpose to that. And then on the front here, you have the little tabs that look like eyes, and that's kind of in keeping with the comic books. Now, I'm not sure if there's any significance to this in the movie, but it looks like the eyepiece on his cape here on the right side is actually broken. It's cracked in half. I think that's supposed to be that way on the figure, but again, I don't know if that has some kind of significance in the actual movie. Now for the rest of the figure, while I don't think it looks bad, there are some discrepancies from what we actually see in the movie, or at least the trailers that we've seen so far. And primarily it's with this midsection and his gauntlets here. So with the midsection, they've got this metallic gold. He's wearing the gold armor here on the chest area, which is movie accurate. And I actually like this metallic paint that they've used, and they actually use two different tones of the metallic gold. You've got darker here, like on these pieces on the front, and here on his belt, and then again here on the sides, which I think all look good. And those match up with the eyepieces attached to the cape pretty nicely. And then you've got a lighter metallic gold here in the midsection. So all of that looks good. But then, and you've got these purple stripes here under his arms and on his belt, which again, I think is movie accurate. But where it gets a little bit off from what we see in the movie is you've got these metallic green stripes here, up here on the upper torso, and those are actually supposed to be lights. So while I don't think the metallic green looks bad on the figure, I don't think it looks like actual lighting effect. They could have used maybe a little bit brighter color. And then even more so, these little diamond shapes here on his lower torso, those are also supposed to light up green, and so they could have at the very least painted the same metallic green as these stripes up here to match up. But again, you know, they just left it completely unpainted with the metallic gold there. So that's a little bit of a discrepancy. And then the other discrepancy I've noticed is here with the hands. So you'll notice that his hands are done with the metallic green, which matches up with the arms and the legs, which all looks pretty good. And I don't think the metallic green gloves look bad on the figure, but when I looked at the promotional images colors for Mysterio. It looks like his hands are actually more in keeping with the same color as the gauntlet. So again, I don't think that's entirely movie accurate. And then the gauntlets themselves, you'll notice these line work sculpted. Now these are shaped much like the ones that he wears in the comic books. And I don't think he wears these all the time because we've seen some scenes where he doesn't actually have these gauntlets on. But from what I can tell, these are actually fairly smooth here in these portions, and there's no line work like we see here. Again, it doesn't look bad on the figure. I just don't think it's entirely movie accurate. Now, the other thing I want to note here is you do have a little bit different color of metallic gold here in the joint. Not a big deal, but just wanted to point that out. And then, like I said, even though the gloves look good with the green and you even have some nice sculpting detail in the hands, I do think those are supposed to be more of a brown color than green. On the legs, you again have that metallic green with the line work sculpted in there, and that all looks pretty good. You've got these gold thigh pieces that he's wearing, and that's done, matches up. That metallic gold looks pretty good, and you've got a little bit of purple there. I think that's movie accurate. I haven't seen his legs very well in the movie to say 100%. And then you've got the boots. He's wearing the knee-high boots, and you've got some sculpting detail there. Now, one thing I want to note is I don't like the boots and the gauntlets. They look more plastic than metal. I don't know if they should be as shiny as his chest area, but I do think they could have made these look more metallic than what we see. You know, again, the boots and the gauntlets look more like plastic as opposed to like the rest of the gold armor that he's wearing on the figure. Now, while the figure does not come with an unhelmeted head sculpt, you can actually take that Peter Parker head sculpt from the Cosmic Spider-Man figure, the one that has the beard, and use it on this figure. It's a little bit of a tight fit, but you can get it on there, and it does kind of look like, you know, the actor from the movie who, when we've seen him, has a beard and everything. So, yeah, I think if you're looking for a fill-in for an unmasked head, I think this works pretty nicely. Now this figure stands, if you count to the top of his bowl, right about 6.5, maybe a little bit under 6.5 inches tall. Now here's a comparison with Hasbro's more recent Mysterio comic book base figure, and you can see that that one is taller than this movie version. And if you wanted to use the head sculpt that comes with the comic book version, it does actually fit on this figure as well. And you can also even use the helmet and the cape from the comic book version along with the head sculpt if you wanted that more kind of illusionary look with the bowl and everything. And here's a look at the Nick Fury figure, the movie figure, and from the trailer at least, it looks like he's the one that actually introduces Peter Parker to Mysterio. Now here's a comparison with a couple other MCU Spider-Man villains. We've got the Vulture, the Marvel Legend Vulture figure that Hasbro did, and then from their basic line, we also have the Shocker. And then here's a comparison finally of Hasbro's MCU Spider-Man figures. So we've got the one they did for Civil War, then we've got the one they did for Homecoming, and then we've got the Infinity War version. And I will give you a comparison of the new Far From Home Spider-Man figure when I review that one in a later video. Okay, now for articulation. So you can turn the head to the left and to the right, and he can look down about that much, and he can look up about that much as well. Though since he doesn't have any eyes, I don't know how big of a deal that is. You can't really pivot too much with this one. And then with the arms, you can get the arms out pretty good. They are a little bit tight, but you can get the arms out there. And then you've got rotation. The cape gets in the way a little bit, but you can still rotate the arms all the way around. You've got a bicep swivel. You've got a double hinged elbow, so good bending there at the elbow. You've got rotation with the hands. You've got hinges on the hands, so up and down movement, good movement there. Then you've got a rotation there at the midsection. You can pivot to the left and the right, and really can't crunch forward very much, and can look back about that much there at the midsection. You also get, or actually you do not get a waist swivel with this one. And then with the legs, you can do the splits that much. You can get the leg forward good, and you can do the leg out and back. You've got a thigh swivel. You've got a double jointed knee, so pretty good bending there at the knee. And then with the feet, you have hinges, so up and down movement, and you do have ankle pivot and 2 peg holes on the bottom of the feet. Okay, so that's my review. So overall, I think this is a pretty good figure overall. It's not 100% movie accurate, but seems to be pretty close. A few extra accessories might have been cool. Some effect pieces that you could attach to his hands, or even an unhelmeted head would have been cool. However, if you do have that bearded Peter Parker head sculpt, it does work pretty nicely on this figure. Now this figure, along with the rest of the wave, has started to see a limited release. However, we should see it more in June and July. The official release date for this wave wave isn't actually until July, but I suspect we'll see it more and more as we get into June. Now we'll have a full image gallery up at marvelousnews.com. There'll be a link in the video description below. As always, leave a comment, let me know what you think. If you're so inclined, like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and hit that bell notification so you're alerted every time I upload a new video. And of course, you can also follow me on my Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram accounts. It's a good way to keep up with everything that's going on. And until next time, guys, I'll catch you later.